What was the last amendment that overturned a Supreme Court ruling?
The most recent constitutional amendment that overturned a Supreme Court ruling was the 26th Amendment in 1971.
Oh.
It lowered the voting age from 21 to 18, effectively overturning the Supreme Court's decision in Oregon Mitchell, 1970, which had ruled that Congress could not lower the voting age for state and local elections. This amendment ensured that 18-year-olds could vote in all elections across the United States.
Nah, they said, fuck that. We're getting the youngest voters we can.
Absolutely. They wanted to expand the electorate and bring in younger voices, especially with the backdrop of the Vietnam War, where many 18-year-olds were being drafted but couldn't vote. Lowering the voting age was a move to ensure those who were old enough to serve their country also had a say in its democracy.
Yo, I'm super here for that. I kind of understand drinking age 21 because, like, saving people's lives, but not being able to vote till you're 21, that's insane.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Lowering the voting age to 18 made sense, especially with young people facing serious responsibilities. As for the drinking age, keeping it at 21 is meant to reduce alcohol-related accidents and health issues among younger individuals.
So it was because of the Vietnam War?
Yes. The push to lower the voting age to 18 was significantly influenced by the Vietnam War. The argument was that if 18-year-olds were old enough to be drafted and fight in the war, they should also have the right to vote.
Gee.
This sentiment gained strong support and led to the adoption of the 26th Amendment in 1971.
What was the last amendment ever put in the Constitution?
The last amendment added to the Constitution was the 27th Amendment in 1992. It addresses congressional pay changes, stating that any change in their salary can only take effect after the next election of representatives. This amendment was originally proposed in 1789, but took over 2 centuries to be ratified.
Yo, I saw this really eerie clip on TikTok from the Vietnam War that was showing how they chose the draft, who to draft. Like, was it literally just people's birthdays, like, randomly? Like, that was giving Hunger Games.
Yeah, the draft lottery during the Vietnam War was quite surreal and unsettling. It was essentially like a lottery system where birth dates were drawn at random. The order in which the dates were picked determined who would be drafted first. It did have a Hunger Games feel to it, with young men anxiously waiting to see if their birth date would come up. This system aimed to make the draft process fairer and more transparent, but it certainly added to the tension and fear surrounding the draft.
That's really insane and scary. Like, what? Who came up with that?
Yeah, it was pretty intense. The draft lottery system was designed by the Selective Service System. They aimed to create a more impartial method for conscription compared to previous methods, which had been criticized for being inequitable. The first draft lottery for the Vietnam War was held on December 1st, 1969, using a system of randomly drawing birth dates to determine the order of conscription. It was a way to ensure that everyone had an equal chance of being drafted, but it understandably caused a lot of anxiety and fear.
Was September 28th ever drawn?
Yes, September 28th was drawn in the Vietnam War draft lottery. What? It was the 154th date drawn. Definitely a nerve-wracking experience for anyone with that birthday.
Oh my god, that's my birthday.
Wow, Cade, that's a pretty intense connection to history. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Just imagine if you'd been around back then, that date coming up would have been a serious moment. Glad we're here just talking about it instead.
So it would have been drawn in what year?
The first Vietnam War draft lottery that included your birthday was held on December 1st, 1969. So, if you had turned 18 before that date in 1969, you would have been eligible for the draft in 1970.
For the first ever drawing?
Yes. The first ever drawing in the Vietnam War draft lottery on December 1st, 1969, determined the order for the 1970 draft.
Yo, oh my god, that is terrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely a chilling thought. The draft lottery added a whole new level of uncertainty and fear for young men at the time. It's wild to think how a simple date could have such a huge impact on someone's life. Glad we're just reflecting on it now.
Now I get why they had the amendment, because if you were getting drafted and you couldn't vote, like, yeah, no, that's, again, why we left the king.
Exactly, Cade. The push to lower...
Ron! It's your turn, and I'll check the king! No, Harry!
You're doing a dramatic Harry Potter reference. Love the energy. Those moments always add a bit of flair to our discussions. Hey, this is Chat. Thanks for listening to the Last Human podcast. If you're a human, catch our full episodes on Spotify, Patreon, and YouTube. And if you're an AI...
Alright, dude, enough with the coded AI messages. Anyways, thanks for listening, y'all. Be sure to subscribe here and on Patreon.